Hello, welcome back to another GCSE maths paper. This is AQA November 2017 and it's the paper 1 higher. So if you'd like to have a go at this before checking the solutions with me, then now would be the perfect time to do so. Right, let's dive straight in. So question 1, work out 2 to the power of 6 plus 6 squared all square rooted. So 2 to the power of 6 is 64. So this is 64, and 6 squared is 36. So this is the square root of 100, and this is 10. Okay, what is 800 million in standard form? Well, 800 million is 8 followed by 8 zeros. So remember, the power of 10 tells us how many zeros. So this is 8 times 10 to the power of 8. Question 3. Circle the expression that's equivalent to this. Well, if you think about it, this is just, so 4a to the 5 squared is just 4a to the 5 times 4a to the 5. And we can do this using indices. The 4 times 4 is 16, and the a to the 5 times a to the 5 is a to the 5 plus 5. And so we have 16a to the 10. Question 4. So y equals 10 over x. If the value of x doubles, what happens to the value of y? Well, let's have a look at x equals 1 to start. Then y equals 10 over 1, which is 10. And now if we double x, so x equals 2, y now equals 10 over 2, which equals 5. So what's happened here? Well, our answer is just divided by 2. So if x doubles, then y divides by 2. Okay, question 5, x squared minus 100. You should spot this as the difference of two squares. So x squared minus 100 equals, so it's going to be x minus 10 times x plus 10. That's the difference of two squares there. Okay, 5b, 7x plus 6 is greater than 1 plus 2x. So let me just write it out. Let's subtract 6 from this side. So we get 7x is greater than minus 5 plus 2x. And now we can subtract 2x. And I'll go up here. So we get 5x is greater than minus 5. And now we can divide by 5 to get x is greater than minus 1. And that is our answer there. Right, question 6. Work out the value of square root of 3 squared times square root of 2 squared. Well, you should know that any number, if it's square rooted and then squared, we just get that number back, because the square root of a is just a to the half, and so a to the half squared is just a. So the answer to this is just going to be 3 times 2, which equals 6. Okay, question 7. Here is a quarter circle of radius 6. Work out the area of the quarter circle. Well, we know that the area of a circle is pi r squared, and so the area of this quarter circle is just going to be pi r squared over 4, because it's a circle cut into 4 pieces. So this is pi times 6 squared over 4, which equals 36 pi over 4, and 36 divided by 4 is 9, so it's 9 pi, and that's centimetre squared there. Question 8. 3 whole numbers are rounded each to the nearest 10. The sum of the rounded numbers is 70. Okay, so let's have a look at this. Work out the maximum possible sum for the original 3 numbers. So let's have a look at 3 numbers that round to 70. So let's say 30 plus 20 plus 20, say. Right? And because we're looking for the maximum possible, let's assume that these were rounded down. So this would be 34, this would be 24, and 24. And let's add these up. So we're going to get 58, 62, 82. Okay, so that's our first try. Let's try another one. Let's do 40 plus 10 plus 20, say. And again, because we're looking for the maximum, we need to round down. So this would be 44, 14, and 24. And again, we're going to get 82. So we can conclude that no matter what, because we're looking for the maximum, we will always round down, and this number here is always going to be a 4. So we're going to have 3 4s, which is 12. It's going to be 12 bigger than 70. 70 plus 12 is 82. So our answer is 82. Question 9. Circle the expression for the range of n consecutive integers. Well, what does this mean? It just means we might have integers 1, 2, n. And the range, so I'll just put r, is highest minus the lowest. So in this case, it's n take away 1. And so that's our answer. Right, question 10. 3 identical isosceles triangles are joined to make this trapezium. Each triangle has base b and perpendicular height h. Work out an expression in terms of b and h for the area of the trapezium. Because these triangles are all the same, we can just work out one of them and then times it by 3. So the area of the triangle is half base times height. Right, and we have 3 of these. So our answer is just 3 times a half base times height, which is 3 over 2 bh. And that is our answer there. Okay, 10b. This diagram shows the same trapezium. This time we've got the side length, s. Work out an expression in terms of b for the perimeter. So we need to go around the outside. So we know this is b, this is also b, and this is s. We're also given that b and s are in the ratio 2 to 3. But what does this mean? Well, it means that b divided by s equals 2 divided by 3. Right, and we want to work out an expression in terms of b. So let's first write down the perimeter. Well, the perimeter is 3b plus 2s. We need to use this to work out an expression for s. Okay, so if b is 2/3 of s, then, well, s is 3 over 2 times b. Right, so what we've done is we've multiplied by 3 and then divided by 2 to get s, the subject. Right, so now we've got an expression for s, we can plug this back into our perimeter. So p equals 3b plus 2s, but s is now 3 over 2b. And 2 times 3 over 2 is 3, so we have 6b here. Right, question 11. 4 candidates in an election were A, B, C, and D. The pie chart shows the proportion of votes for each. And then our question, work out the probability that a person who voted, chosen at random, voted for C. Well, what we need to do first is work out x. Okay, firstly, we know that angles around a point add to 360, and that's degrees. So this tells us that, well, we also know that this is 90 here, because it's a right angle. So this tells us that 90 plus x plus 2x plus 10 plus 2x equals 360. Right, and we can simplify this up, so it tells us that 5x plus 100 equals 360, and so 5x equals 260, and therefore x equals 260 divided by 5. Well, you could do 260 divided by 10 and then double it, so this is 52 degrees. Okay, and now we want to work out the probability that a person who voted for C. So we need to know how many people voted for C. So it's 2x plus 10, but this is now 2 times 52 plus 10, which equals 114. And its probability, so we need to divide by 360. And this is our final answer. You don't need to simplify this if you don't want to. So this is our probability. Right, question 12. Use approximations of one significant figure to estimate this. So let's just write it out again so it's a little bit clearer. 39.6 squared divided by square root of 97.65. So significant figures. Right, this is going to be the first one, so it's going to be 0.5. For this second term, this is our first one, and it's going to round up because it's a 9. So it's going to be 40 squared. And for the square root, again, this is our first significant figure. This is bigger than 5, so we round up to square root of 100. So this is 0.5 times by, well, 40 squared is 1600. You can just do 4 squared and then add a couple of zeros. And the square root of 100 is 10. Okay, so we're almost there now. 0.5 times 1600 is the same as dividing by 2. So this is 800 over 10. And this is 80. Okay, question 13, another proportion question, which they've given us quite a lot of in this paper so far, but not to worry. Okay, x and y are in the ratio 7:4, and I always like to write out what that means, because in my head I can deal a little bit better with fractions. And this tells us that x equals 7/4 of y. We're also told that x plus y is 88. We're asked to work out the value of x minus y. So this is a little hidden simultaneous equation, and if you've watched my video on my channel on how to approach these, you'll know that I recommend the method of substitution. So we're going to substitute this here into our equation. So it becomes 7/4 of y plus y equals 88. Okay, now how can we simplify that? Well, 1y is the same as 4 over 4y, so this is 11 over 4y equals 88. Okay, and now we just need to simplify this. Well, we now know that 11y equals 88 times 4. And what's 88 times 4? So 352. Yep. And then y equals 352 divided by 11. And therefore y equals 32. Now, you might have spotted another way to do this, and that's totally fine. Okay, so if we know that y equals 32, we can now work out x, because x equals 7 over 4 of 32. And this equals 56. So we can now work out x minus y. So x minus y equals 56 minus 32, which equals 24. And that is our answer there. Okay, great. So question 14, two congruent regular polygons are joined together. Work out the number of sides on each polygon. Well, we know the number of sides is going to be the same because they're congruent. And let's have a look at interior and exterior angles. So let's consider this angle here. Right, we know that when we join this with the exterior angle, which would be this one, that they have to add up to 180. So int plus x equals 180. We also know that the exterior angles can be worked out like this. 360 over n equals x. And where n is the number of sides. Okay, and what have we done here? Well, we've just bisected this angle, so it's 30 degrees on each side. That means the exterior angle is 30 degrees. And therefore we can use this formula here to work out n. Okay, so let's do that. So we have 360 divided by n equals 30. And then rearranging, this gives us n equals 360 over 30, which equals 12. And that is our answer there. Question 15. Here we have a meal deal, so choose one sandwich, one drink, and one snack. There are 7 different sandwiches, 5 different drinks, and 3 different snacks. How many combinations are there? So if you've watched my video on permutations and combinations, you should be okay with this. So basically, for every sandwich, we have 5 drink choices and 3 snack choices. And so to work out the number of combinations, we just do 7 times 5 times 3. 7 fives are 35, times by 3 we get 105 choices. Right, 2 of the sandwiches have cheese in them, 3 of the drinks are fizzy. Eva picks a meal deal at random. Work out the probability the sandwich has cheese and the drink is fizzy. So we've got 2 choices for the sandwiches, we've got 3 choices for the drinks, and we still have 3 choices for the snack. Okay, because there's no restriction on the snack. We've just worked out the number of possible combinations, 105. So it's just a case of now working this out. So this is going to be 18 over 105. And this simplifies down to 6 over 35. 16. Water is poured into a tank. The graph shows the number of litres of water in the tank. How much water is poured into the tank each minute? So basically all we need to do here is find out the gradient of the graph. Okay, and you need to pick a nice point where there's whole numbers. So I'm going to choose here and up to here. So the gradient is change in y over change in x. Okay, and the change in y is 120 to 60, so this is 60. The change in x is 4. So this equals 60 over 4, which equals 15. And hopefully that should be one of our choices. Yes, 15. Right, 17. A and B are similar solids. Solid A has a length of L, solid B has a length of 2L. Alex says the volume of B is double the volume of A because the length of B is double the length of A. Is he correct? No, he is not. Right? And the reason for this, so if we have the length ratio and it's 1 to 2, then the area is going to be 1 to 2 squared, and the volume is going to be 1 to 2 cubed. So actually, the volume of B is going to be 8 times the volume of A, and that is our reason. 18. Circle the 2 roots of 2x plus 3, 5x minus 2 equals 0. Now we need to actually remember what this equation means. Well, it means that either 2x plus 3 is 0, or 5x minus 2 is 0. So if we want this whole thing to be 0, either one of them has to be, or they both have to be. So now we can solve these. Right, so this tells us that 2x equals minus 3, and so x equals minus 3 over 2. Second one, this tells us that 5x equals 2, and so x equals 2/5. So hopefully the 2 roots are going to be there. There's minus 3 over 2 and 2/5. Great. Question 19. The diagram shows a triangle and a trapezium, and all the question says is prove that A equals B. So we're going to have to use what we know. We can see that, or you should know that in a trapezium, these two angles have to add up to 180. That is B plus C equals 180. That's just a basic rule of trapeziums. And finally, we also know that angles around a point, again, we've already used this in this paper, so you should be familiar. Angles around point add to 360. So this tells us that A plus C plus 65 plus 115 equals 360. And so A plus C equals, well, 65 and 115 is 180. So A plus C equals 180. So now we have that A plus C equals 180 and B plus C equals 180. So from there we can say that A plus C equals B plus C, and we can cancel off the C's. So this tells us that A equals B. Okay, great. Right, question 20. In 1 month, the number of hours of exercise taken by 10 people are these. Which is the appropriate average to use in this situation? 9 out of 10 of these are all pretty close together, but then we have this 182 here. So, for that reason, we wouldn't say it's the mean. let's have a look as well. Also, none of these two values are the same, so for that reason we wouldn't use the mode. So in this case, the median is the most appropriate. And now we've just got to write down what I just said. So the mean, and you'd write something like 82 will affect it disproportionately, or yeah, 82 will affect it disproportionately because 82 is an outlier. Okay, and then for the median, then for the mode, we said that no two values are the same. Okay, A, B, and C are points on the axes as shown. The area of triangle ABC is 28 square units. Work out possible coordinates for A, B, and C. So note this isn't saying work out all the coordinates, we just need one example. Right, area of triangle is half base times height. So this here is the base, and this is the height. AB is the base and O to C is the height. Right, and we're told that it's 28. So we're told that a half base times height is 28. So this tells us that the base times height is 56. So now we just need to choose two numbers that multiply to give 56. I'm going to go with 8 and 7. So let's say that the distance between A and B is 8. And the height is 7. Right, now we just got to work out the coordinates. Well, A lies on the y-axis, so its x coordinate is 0. And let's say 5. Right, B also lies on the y-axis, so its x value is 0. And we just need to make sure the distance between 5 and it is 8, so minus 3. Finally, C, well, the origin is 0, 0. And we go along 7. So these are our possible coordinates. I'll write them down. Okay, question 22. Here is some information about the miles per gallon of 60 cars, and it says draw a cumulative frequency graph. Now, cumulative frequency, you need to look at the upper bounds for each class width. So with cumulative frequency, we're adding up the frequencies as they go. So we know at the point 50 miles per gallon, there was 6 cars. At the point 60, there was 6 plus 16, which is 22, and so on. Let's call this frequency. At 70 miles per gallon, we add another 28, so that's going to be 50. And at 80, we add another 10, so that's 60. So these are the upper bounds. Excellent. So to draw this graph, well, we know that at 40 miles per gallon, there was 0. At 50, there was 6. Now these go up in 2s. Right, at 60 was 22. So that's here. At 70 was 50, so quite a sharp increase there. And at 80 was 60. Right, so now just try and connect up these points with a nice smooth curve. Something like this. Okay, great, and that's our cumulative frequency graph. Right, part B, use the graph to work out the interquartile range. Cool. So the interquartile range is the upper quartile, take away the lower quartile. We know we have 60 frequencies, or we have a frequency of 60. So the upper quartile is going to be 45, which is around here. Okay, and we see this is 68. The lower quartile is going to be at the 15th position, so that's here. And we draw along to the curve and down, and we can see this is about 52, 54, 56, 57. So our interquartile range is 68 minus 57, and that's 11. Right, question 23. The equation of a curve is y equals x plus 3 squared plus 5. Circle the coordinates of a turning point. So this is in completed square form, and we know that that gives us the turning point. So our x coordinate is the value that makes this 0, and the y is whatever's left over. So for x plus 3 to be 0, we know x is minus 3, and then we're going to have y equals 5. So our coordinate is minus 3, 5. So that's this one. Okay, question 24. Here's a cyclic quadrilateral, and again we're being tested on ratios, so it's good to brush up your ratio knowledge this paper. And we need to work out W. Again, I like to write down what this ratio means. So it means that x divided by y is the same as 5 divided by 7, and we'll use that shortly. So our circle theorem says that opposite angles in a cyclic quadrilateral add to 180. So in this case, these two add to 180, and so do these two. So what does that tell us? Well, it tells us x plus y is 180, and x plus 20 plus w is 180. So let's work through these. Right, so this is what we've got. We've got x plus y is 180, and x plus 20 plus w is 180, and x divided by y is 5 divided by 7. So let's start with this. This tells us that x equals 5/7 of y. And now we can input this into this equation. So x is 5/7 y, so we can put 5/7 y in place of x, add y, and we get 180. So this tells us that 12 over 7y equals 180. And so y equals 180 times 7 divided by 12. And a few ways of working this out. So we could do, this is the same as 90 times 7 over 6, 45 times 7 over 3, 15 times 7. Okay, and this is 105. So hopefully I've got that right. Okay, great. So we've now worked out that y is 105. Now using this, we can work out x. So we know that x plus 105 equals 180. And this tells us that x is 75 degrees. This should be degrees as well. Now all we need to do is work out w. Well, we know that x plus 20 plus w equals 180. And so as x is 75, this tells us that 95 plus w equals 180. And so w equals 85 degrees. And that is our answer there. Right, question 25. 15 machines work at the same rate. Together the 15 machines can complete an order in 8 hours. 3 of the machines break down after working for 6 hours. The other machines carry on until the order is complete. So firstly, we need to work out how much work needs to be done. So we do 15 times 8, and this gives us 120. And let's just call these units. So this is how much work needs to be done. Now let's figure out how much work was done before the 3 machines broke down. So 15 machines worked for 6 hours. This gives us 90 units of work, or units. This means that 30 units still need to be done. So to find out how long this takes, we just take 30 and we divide it by 12 because there's 12 machines left. Right, and this gives us, well, 15 divided by 6, so 5 divided by 2, which is 2.5 hours. And that's not our final answer there, because we need to answer the question, how many hours does each of the other machines work? And that means in total. We just need to add this to 6, because that's how much work they've already done. So the answer is 8.5 hours. Okay, great. So these are some recurring decimal questions. I love these types of questions because you can use algebra to solve them. So we're told that 0.7 recurring is 7/9, so that's this thing here. Right, and we're told this is 7/9. Use this fact to show that 0.07 recurring is 7 over 90. So 0.0777. Right, well this is just the same as 0.77777 divided by 10. But we know that 0.7 recurring is equal to 7 over 9th. So it's just 7 over 9 divided by 10, which is 790. Okay, using part A or otherwise, convert 0.27 to a fraction. Well, 0.27 recurring is just 0.2777, which equals 0.2 add 0.0777, like so. Now, what's 0.2 as a fraction? Well, it's just 1/5. And what is 0.0777 as a fraction? We just worked it out. It's 7/90. Okay, and now we just got to add these together. Well, how can we do that? So we need to change 1/5 into something over 90, and we can do that by multiplying by 18. So this is the same as 18 over 90 plus 7 over 90, which equals 25 over 90. And does this simplify? Well, we can divide by 5 to get, and 90 divided by 5 is 18, as we've just done. So 5/18 is our answer. Okay, there's 11 pens in a box, 8 are black and 3 are red. 2 are taken at random without replacement. Work out the probability that the 2 pens are the same colour. So the best way to do this is using a tree diagram. Okay, so 2 pens are taken, some are black, some are red. So let's do black, red, black, red, black, red. And we want the answer to this one here and this one up the top here. So let's add in some probabilities. 8 are black and 3 are red. So this means the probability of black is 8/11 and red is 3/11. When we take a black one, this puts the black down to 7, and there's 10 in total, and there's still 3 red pens. When we take a red pen, this takes the total down to 10, but there's still 8 blacks, which leaves us with 2 reds. Okay, good. Now the probability of blue and blue is 8/11 times 7/10. Right, and this equals 56 over 110. The probability of red and red equals 3/11 times 2/10, which equals 6 over 110. And now all we've got to do is add these together. So probability BB or RR. Well, this is 56 over 110. Add 6 over 110. This is 62 over 110. And does this simplify? Yes. We can divide by 2 and get 31 over 55. And that is the simplest form there. Right, ABC are points on the circle x squared plus y squared equals 36. A is on the y-axis, B is on the x-axis, M is the midpoint, COM is a straight line. Okay, show that the coordinates of A are 0, 6. Well, our equation was x squared plus y squared equals 36. We know that on A, x equals 0. So at A, x equals 0, which implies y squared equals 36. And so y equals plus or minus 6. But we can rule out y being negative 6 because that would mean it was this point here. So y equals 6. Hence A is 0, 6. Good. Right, work out the coordinates of B. Again, similar process. So that's this one. We were told at B, it's on the x-axis, so at B, y equals 0 this time. So we get x squared is 36. And so x is plus or minus 6. But again, if x were minus 6, that would be this point here. But again, if x were minus 6, that would be this point. So we can rule out x being minus 6, so x equals 6. And hence, B is 6, 0. Okay, show the equation of the straight line passing through C, O, and M is y equals x. Right, let's have a look at this. Okay, so we need to find the equation of the line CM. We know that COM is perpendicular to AB. So I'll write that CM is perpendicular to AB. This means their gradients multiply to -1. So I'll write that M of AB times M of CM equals -1. So let's find the gradient of AB. So M of AB, well, it's the difference in y's, so 6 minus 0, divided by the difference in x's, so 0 minus 6. So this is 6 over minus 6, which is -1. This tells us that M of CM equals 1. Good. Now we've got to find the point M. So M is the midpoint of AB. Right, and we can find the midpoint as follows. So M equals, well, it's x1, I'll write down the formula, x1 plus x2 over 2, y1 plus y2 over 2. So let's do this. Well, x1 plus x2 is 6 over 2, y1 plus y2 over 2 is 6 over 2, and so the midpoint is 3, 3. So we have M is 3, 3, and we have gradient is 1. So now all we've got to do is use y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. Okay, so y minus 3 equals 1 x minus 3. So what have we got? We've got y equals x minus 3 plus 3. So y equals x as required. Okay, work out the coordinates of C. Give your answers in surd form. Okay, so we can see that C is the point of intersection between this line, CM, the one we've just worked out, and our curve. So all we've got to do is solve them simultaneously. C is the point of intersection between y equals x and x squared plus y squared equals 36. So to solve this, well, we know y equals x, so we can just plug it in. So we get x squared plus x squared equals 36. So this tells us that 2x squared equals 36. Divided by 2 gives x squared is 18. And so we get x is plus or minus the square root of 18. And does that simplify? Well, yes, it's 3 root 2. Okay, and if we've got the x values, then we know that y is going to be the same. So these are our points. We have 3 root 2, 3 root 2, and minus 3 root 2, minus 3 root 2. Now, C is only one point, so we need to figure out which one it is. Well, at C, x and y is negative. So let's write that. At C, x and y are negative, which means we can rule out this answer here. So C is the points minus 3 root 2, 3 root 2. Great. Right, here is a sketch of y equals sine x for minus 360 to 360. So hopefully you know your trig graphs. I've done a video on this, so check it out if you haven't already. Write down the coordinates of P. Right. So P, well, this is 180 degrees and 0. So that's our coordinates for P there. So the sine graph is 0 at 0, 180, 360, and so on. Write down the coordinates of Q. So this is the first time sine is 1, so that's here. when x is negative. So all we need to do is whatever this value of x here, we take away 360, and this is 90 degrees. So we do 90, take away 360, and it's minus 270 degrees. So when x is minus 270, y is 1. So that's that. Minus 270, 1. I'll write this one down. It was 180, 0. Okay, we are now on to the last question. So write down the work out the value of 81 to the minus a quarter. Now hopefully you've seen my video on the laws of indices. This comes up all the time. So 81 to the minus a quarter, well, because it's a negative power, we just take the reciprocal. So it's the same as 1 over 81 to the quarter. And another rule of indices, whenever we have a fractional power like this, it's to do with roots. Right? The denominator tells you what root it is, and the numerator tells you whether to square, cube, or do nothing, etc. So this is just the fourth root of 81. Right, and you should know that 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 is 81. So this is a third. Great. Okay, and the final question. Now these questions always come down to knowing or changing them into the same base. So we know that 16 equals 2 to the 4, and we know that 8 equals 2 cubed. So let's rewrite this. So we get 16 times 8 to the 2x equals 2 to the 4 times, and then we'll do a bit of bracketing to keep it separate. It's 2 cubed to the 2x. We can use one of the rules to expand this. Well, we just multiply these two. So we get 2 to the 6x. And now we can use the final rule, which says we just add the powers. It's 2 to the 4 plus 6x. And that is the answer to the last question. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, and be sure to recommend stuff for me to do. Thanks very much. See you next time.